Whoa. Right there. Stop. That's what regulations come from. It's from watching history unfold.
but
wait, hold on. If you take away regulations, Juan was arguing this on Facebook.
And I'm not saying all regulations. Because I feel like that was... I think for some reason everything slipped and I'm about total anarchy.
Okay.
Which is... I was very explicit about not that.
Let me just make sure. But let's just say... regulations, every law that comes into existence for a reason.
But not always a good reason.
Somewhere fucked up.
No.
Okay?
What do you mean?
We're gonna go with that assumption. All right? Like, I'm Facebook and I leak your private information. We need a law to change that. Stat. Okay? That law comes into existence because someone dropped the ball. All right? So what happens is when you scale back regulations, it doesn't matter what it is, but something that we're just gonna cut this red tape. There's gonna be a rubber band effect because the mistakes that led to that regulation coming in its place in the first place will be needed again. Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. Welcome to episode 45 of the Musing with Menchaca show. This is the conversational podcast where, in this case, three friends gather around these microphones, each with their own random topics of discussion to hash out for your amusement. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up, share us with your friends, and subscribe for more content. I am your host, Luis Menchaca, and joining me today, to my left, screen right, we have the ageless Immortal, Tony.
Yo.
And to my right, screen left, we have the newest entry into our pantheon of cast members, making his debut. I have dubbed him the master debater, Misha.
That doesn't sound right.
I know. No, I like that. I thought of that. By the way, in case you didn't know this, everybody has a name, like, the Soldier of Fortune, Juan, everyone's got V something.
I know that, but that one didn't sound right.
Yeah, no, I like that though. I did that on purpose, by the way.
All right.
Everyone's got something. I always name somebody like the something, unless you want to change it.
No, it's fine.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't sound right, but it's fine. we'll just roll with it.
Just roll with it. All right. So let's see. Make sure to follow me on Twitter. I'm at Chakalaka88, PSN, Steam, XBL, Twitch, all Chakalaka88, all across the board. Easy to remember. If you have anything you guys want to talk about in the comments, let me know. I'll reply. Suggestions for topics, reactions to anything that's said, as well as you can go to the link in the description and go to Google Play and iTunes if you want to listen to the show in audio form in a very good high quality MP3. So now with all that out of the way, let's time to talk about the topics. So we got a pretty interesting show for you, a very good mix. We're not going to do too much serious stuff, but we are going to cover the serious stuff here up front. We had this last episode 44 was quite the show that lost me subscribers. Thank you, all five of you. It was quite the interesting thing that we were talking about these political ideologies, and Tony over here being very divisive. I don't know how they pronounce it with the audience. That Tony, you're just like batting people left and right, holding people. Punching people like every which way because they're coming at you from all directions on Facebook. You're replying to everyone's post to be like, nah, fam. It doesn't it kind of felt like to me with last week's big government topic. It kind of felt like to me that every time somebody tried to counterpoint you rejected you countered their counter, but like it almost kind of started in a situation where it felt like you're rejecting their hypothesis. Like, okay, for instance, Facebook, you comment, somebody comments, the private sector sucks at sharing information. And then you come back and you say, no, the private sector is great at sharing information.
No, I would probably say, I don't know if they're great. I probably even said, I don't know if they're great. I think that was literally how I started.
Well, like you got open source, you got Google, and I'm telling Microsoft,
because you got all these. I specifically do follow like some tech stuff, and I know for a fact, like I remember semi-recently, Google found a vulnerability in someone's like operating system or something, and then they apparently held back for a while so they could fix it, but then when they felt like they were taking too long, Google just came out and put them on blast. Like, that's the private sector checking the private sector. Like,
Well,
it found a vulnerability, it let the other person know so they could fix it, and then when they were taking too long, it put them on blast in the public so everybody can shame them.
Okay.
But their first instinct was to hide it and try to solve it themselves.
What, the Google? Which one? The one that I'm talking about specifically, it wasn't, because they all, every time, between the big ones at least, they will, if they're finding a vulnerability in the operating system, they'll tell the person first so they can fix it. Because if you tell everyone, if you announce it right off the back, then it's open to, anybody can exploit it before, like, let's say if it was Microsoft in this example, before they have a chance to fix whatever the
vulnerability
is.
Even Microsoft had vulnerability
Yeah, and that's
issues.
how they all do it. They'll
Well,
let the
well-
person know first, and then give them some time to fix it. But I guess it's not like a strict standard of what's a
Okay,
reasonable
first
time.
off, with tech companies, they don't do it like, I don't believe they do, well, we're going to release this information because we want to be the good guys.
No, they don't. It's a mutual.
It's not just a mutual respect or
No,
whatever.
not respect. Mutual defense. It's
Okay.
like, I help you, you help me. Like, we're all kind of.
I don't
no
think
one's
that's
gonna.
their first priority. Their first priority is how much money they're going to lose.
Yeah, but see, that's part of it. See,
That's a lot different
no,
than
but see, it feeds into it because, like, having massive vulnerabilities in your operating system
Yeah.
is going to make you lose money.
Of course,
So
yes,
one
of course.
system that's evolved in the market is
But if
let's
you
come
can-
together to not hack each other's stuff. And whenever we find vulnerabilities in each other's systems or in our own systems, obviously we're going to try to fix it first so that the public, you can't tell the public first because then it's going to let all the bad actors know that there's this vulnerability. So you have to try to fix it first. But if you take forever, like what Google did, they'll come out and kind of put you on blast, or that's how I'm putting it. Obviously, they were probably a little more respectful than that, but basically they came out and put them on blast, like, hey, you need to deal with this vulnerability, like, now.
All right, let Misha speak.
I wouldn't actually probably use Google I would use iPhone as an example. Like the battery thing. Yeah, I think that's a perfect example.
All right, what do you mean? Like talking about whenever like the iPhone batteries were decaying and they
they
were.
purposely designed the software to where
Oh yeah, it bottlenecks your phone. It decreases its performance.
it, yeah,
And didn't tell the
because-
customers.
exactly.
Well,
And
they
for
scaled
that-
with it, right? The battery, they would scale, like, they started capping it off as the.
Well, they scaled down the performance of the battery, but
Oh,
it
the-
was
oh, the-
done.
they
but
would-
it wasn't
they
a natural course of the battery. It was done on purposely.
Okay, so
that
what they did.
people have reasons to upgrade or to use their repair services.
Well,
as
I
a way
heard
of
that's
making
That's
money.
the case against. I've heard that what they said publicly was we were doing this because, like, if they didn't do this, like, batteries would just randomly shut down and stuff. So it
Well,
was
of
a
course, yeah. I
performance thing.
mean,
And it makes sense for
that's
Apple.
anything. That's like any battery you go buy. Eventually, it's gonna die.
Yeah, but Apple's whole motto is, or their
But they're a business.
philosophy.
They're a business. They have to sell products.
Yeah.
So the reason they were scaling down their batteries, so their devices die faster.
Well,
Devices
I know.
die
Okay,
faster.
okay,
You
no,
have
that-
reason
you can
to
make
go
better
upgrade.
My understanding of the situation with the batteries is the batteries decay. That's normal.
Yeah.
There's a shelf life with them. So what they do is they scale the processor down. So what happens is if the processor is running at full blast and the battery cannot keep up with it, like at 30%, your phone will shut down. So what they're doing is they're trying to extend the life of your phone, keep it alive longer
by matching.
by matching it.
But
Yeah.
that's why usually people around, you know how, like, the whole conspiracy
I don't
theory
think it
of-
really extends the life of your phone.
No, well,
Because if your
I
processor is not taxing the battery as hard because
I don't like.
I don't know
I've
if it's
done.
extending
I've done cell phone repairs where batteries just straight up die,
okay.
and they like, and there's that span of what the last 6 months or whatever before people's like, okay, I gotta get this
Yeah.
replaced.
Right.
okay, I think
And you can literally charge your phone to 100%, and then within 2-3 hours, it's
dead.
completely dead.
Right. Yeah. That's my 5S and 6S right now.
And it came off as people were starting to realize that it wasn't a natural thing. It was actually being done on purpose. So you have a reason to go get a new battery if you want to go buy a new phone.
Right.
You
so,
have a reason to go upgrade your phone.
because
Because
planned obsolescence.
their business model is that you need to buy their products in order for them to stay in business. If your phone lasts for 10 years, are you really gonna
Yeah, Tony.
have a reason to go buy a phone?
Well, first of all, what I was
Like-
trying to
like
say
just-
is
No.
Apple's whole philosophy is the experience. So you actually put it pretty well because I was trying to put the idea together, but how they scale the thing, that's actually probably a pretty good summation of what they said they were doing. And Apple's always about the experience. So in their mind, which is pretty consistent throughout their history of making computers, they want the user to have the best experience possible. I think they might even say that verbatim.
Yeah. So
if that's the case, if that's the underlying philosophy, it makes sense that you would have a better experience with your phone being slower than randomly shutting down all the time. Or at least in their mind, that because it's always,
it's happened to me before, by
Yeah.
the way.
But, I mean,
the
so-
3GS and 4S were big examples of that for
yeah,
me.
and it's something that they've done.
Yeah.
They said they put in not too long ago, not
Right.
like
Yeah,
at the right beginning.
I believe it didn't start till
The
around
6, the iPhone
No.
6.
like
5S?
4S or 5.
Oh. So they haven't been doing it forever.
No,
Okay.
but the 3GS, whenever it died,
Those
it was,
just
that
shut
was
down.
all natural.
Shut down like a motherfucker. Yeah.
Okay.
That was the natural course.
So this could have been a solution to that problem, and we didn't notice that the problem was fixed because
Well, people noticed it. They called out Apple like when the 4S's were dying and the 5s were dying a lot faster than normally. What people would consider normally.
When you say dying, you mean like they wouldn't hold as long of a charge? Or
Yeah,
something?
or they'll lose their charge.
Or it'll be slower too, right?
Yeah. Both.
People noticed the performance issues and the battery performance like years and years before. It was like that conspiracy theory for a while. That's what everybody considered it. But when Apple actually came out and straight up said it, just recently?
Yeah, like in
Like
January or something like that.
Everybody's like, holy crap. It was true.
I would say, as far as
The conspiracies were true, yeah.
Yeah,
Basically,
it wasn't
yeah.
a conspiracy no more. It was actually a legit thing.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I was gonna say for the Apple thing, I think if you can look at it both ways, and I feel like the truth is probably has elements of both, but it's something to the effect of like I think people go to Apple because they want Apple to tell them how their phone should be. Like the reason why I like Android is because you get a lot more options. To be fair, Apple and Android are converging a lot, so they're very similar these days. But at least in the beginning, Android, and to a degree still now, it was more about options. You had more flexibility with the Android operating system. It was too many options in a lot of cases. Like Apple's whole thing was simplicity.
Apple was simplicity. Android was how can we not
Open
be
source.
Apple,
Yeah, open
but
source.
be
Yeah.
better than Apple? So we still gotta do the things that Apple does, but we gotta be better. So we have to give them more options, more
widgets, more
customization,
customization,
more
yeah.
freedom. But at the same time, we want to be away from Apple, but still we want the same audience.
Well, I don't know if they actually wanted to be away. I think,
No, they weren't. They
What was his
weren't. They
name?
weren't.
I think Andy Rubin had a different philosophy of what made a good operating system. Like in his mind, what better was
For
was
a
different than
long
what Apple thought.
time, Android played catch up. Well, not just so much Android. You
Every
know,
operating system.
Motorola,
Yeah.
LG,
BlackBerry,
Samsung,
yeah.
BlackBerry.
Yeah, they tried.
played catch up with iPhone for a long ass time, which makes sense because iPhone pretty much changed the game. So you kind of had to, play catch up for a while.
Yeah. You could even say they had a
But-
monopoly on smartphones.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah.
Like, let me ask you this, Tony. I want to get at the heart of the matter beyond this example because.
Well,
I
I would say just for the thing, like I think it is true that there is an element of that at Apple, like what you were saying. In every business, you want to get as much money as possible for the least amount of effort. But I do think you can
There is.
tangibly make a case, especially if they are. I'm going to say ethically an ethical company, but not in the traditional sense. Like their ethic has always been customer first, elegance, simplicity, all this stuff. So I can see from their mindset, and Apple has a history of doing things that in their mind is what the customer should want, and then sometimes the customer will push back. Like the original
everybody
iPhone
does
did.
that.
Not everybody.
No,
Most customers,
pretty much everybody.
most companies, they listen to the
Microsoft.
customer.
Microsoft the same way. It's how things should be later on. So computers the same way. Like
No, well, because
when Apple
usually
started,
that's how Apple usually
nobody
advertises
know
against
what,
everybody
like
else.
with computers when Apple pushed their personal computer out. Nobody thought that you're gonna need a computer at home. And that it was gonna be just a work thing.
Yeah.
Way the whole
Off
thing
in the
different.
office, nobody needs a computer. And they have to change people's minds. So,
but see, most
same thing
companies
with
they
the
don't
cell
go out there
phones.
trying to change people's mind. They just try to give them what they are already asking for.
I think you kind of have to in order to sell your product.
No, I agree that you
have
should,
to,
but I don't think
not,
you
not
would-
so much should. If you have a product and you need to sell this product, you have to change that person's mind to tell them you need this,
No, but see,
regardless if you do or not.
you only need it for a new product or a new person. If
Well,
it's
yes,
new in
for
a
a
way,
new one, yeah.
if it's anything
But
else, like
still, what they do with the X, they really didn't convince people you need it. So
other
they
than you.
lost sales.
Other than you. No, I was kidding.
yeah.
Well, I love
Well,
iPhone,
they
so
made-
I'm gonna buy it regardless.
No, like I said, I fall into that.
Yeah.
I traded my iPhone 10 like immediately within a week. I went to Android because they dropped the ball. Apple.
Exactly.
Just want to let you know that you.
They have
you.
been. I mean,
At least, and
Yeah,
at least
a lot
a
of
good
people-
amount of people.
a lot of people.
Because I guess with
so
the
I
iPhone
mean,
8 is like
even with the new versions of a product, you still kind of have to convince, because you're still gonna have to recruit new people, because you're always gonna lose people. Always, no matter what you do, there's gonna be somebody who's gonna say, "Oh, I don't like this," and I'm gonna go to Android like him. So you have to recruit new people, new customers.
you have to
So
reconvince
you
every
have to-
sale you have to sell.
Yeah,
Like
you
this,
have
but-
to convince them that they need this.
Yeah. No, but I was saying is like it's true for the first product if it's like whatever. So like the iPhone 10 is not a new product. It's a iteration on the original
It's not
iPhone.
a new product, but it has new things.
It does.
And
But
it
for
ha-
like the very first iPhone,
Yeah,
you know,
like the first one you have
Well,
to
yeah,
do that.
the
But all
first-
the other one, well, usually a company, all companies they
iPad,
have
the first
something.
iPad, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
All companies will do one original idea because that's what's going to make them successful. And then what they end up doing is because of the success of the original product, they'll just start listening to the customer and adding whatever the customer tells them
Yeah.
instead of telling the customer. One of the unique things about Apple is they keep that mentality of we know best. And sometimes they're right. And
sometimes they're wrong.
Yes, that's the kind of the trade-off you get with them. Like, you're never going to convince Apple they're wrong about what they think. I mean,
don't
unless
gotta
you push back
convince
hard. No, but
Unless
no.
their sales take a nosedive, that's the only way
Yeah,
you'll
but see,
convince
most
them.
other companies, they just iterate. Like, they're always asking the customer what they want and delivering what they want.
Like
and
Google,
that's also
or Facebook,
or Amazon. Yeah, like they just ask the customer what they want and just give them that. But also, you need that element of predicting what the customer to giving them things that they didn't know that they wanted, which is what I think you were saying.
But even at Amazon today, I mean, they're still convincing people that you need.
Yeah, because you have to
you
kind
need
of,
them.
Yeah, you need that second part. The part
Yeah.
you're talking about is the one that you need in the long run. You have to constantly
Constantly
predict what they want or
resell your
yeah.
product as if it's your first.
But that's
day.
not the tendency for most companies. I think people are learning it since through the history of capitalism or the history of companies. People are learning that lesson more and more. But it's so easy just to get your first product off the ground. The creative person makes it, then the managers just start like micromanaging. Like, oh, let's add this feature, this person, and then cluttering a product.
Well, that's
It's
what.
a lot harder today because you have so many options. But
Besides
I
that-
think the business model has always been the same.
Plus, a business cycle usually perpetuates cash cows, anyways.
Yeah, but see, when you have a cash cow, you don't want to kill the golden goose to a certain degree. So that's also what makes it hard. Like, I think it's
Like that's what makes Apple weird because they kill their cash cows.
no, but I don't know if they
they killed the iPod.
They did in the era of Steve
Well,
Jobs.
they did. They killed the iPod because you don't need it anymore.
Right,
But
like
the
I said,
iPod was a cash cow.
But the iPod was a cash cow for Apple, right?
Yes.
and
it
so
was a cash cow for the iPhone.
Right.
It was that little stepping stone.
so what happens is like what's really weird is like
Nobody needed an iPod after iPhone came out.
right, but
it
that's
was-
exactly they killed it.
But people still.
Well, no, but
They
see,
killed the
they,
iPod.
no,
because-
well, actually, that's a little bit different because they put out the iPhone and the iPod was still out. They only killed the least performing, probably portions of the iPod slowly over time.
Yeah,
as
once
the iPhone became better.
once
and better.
they came out with the iPod Touch, they put all the other ones away.
But what I'm saying
still
is
sell them,
normal
they just-
business. Normal business, by the way.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to get at is Apple, by operating differently, is a normal business that has a cash cow like an iPod. They will continue to always iterate on iPod and never actually make an iPhone. Because why would you? Because you got this cash
Well,
cow,
they-
and my money's gonna
you
be
would
raining
build
every
off the
day.
cash cow.
Well, they got,
Money will be raining every day from here on to the end of time,
the
which it
problem
doesn't
with
work.
the iPod Touch is the problem they got. They came up to them is that people wanted the iPod to be like the iPhone.
Oh no. I think he's talking about
The
when
Touch, the iPod Touch.
I think he's
Not
talking
so much.
pre that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's talking about like when they came up with the
iPod
idea of the iPhone.
with the wheel, with the little
Well,
click
yeah.
wheel.
Well, yeah.
Like-
They had to throw that away.
yeah.
But I think what he's talking about is why did Apple? Because most companies wouldn't do this. When you have a cash cow like the iPod, you would just keep building on top of that and just milking it for everything that it's worth.
Because you had products that were a lot better.
Than the
They
iPod?
were the best MP3 player, and no one touched them when it came to MP3
yeah, but
players.
they were the same thing. Would you have the same?
No, I think he's talking iPod like in 2004,
Would you have the
2005.
same capability of an iPod and have a phone?
What I'm talking
and
about,
have a screen.
What I'm talking about is business practices from 04.
No, it made sense back then perfectly.
Yeah.
Because there was no such thing as a touchscreen phone.
Right, exactly.
But Apple made that basically for the most part.
Exactly. So,
but he's saying is
after
most
time,
companies
they
wouldn't.
had to throw that product away because it was.
Wait, at what time?
At what? Yeah, because
Because they threw it away like in 10, 12, something like that, like very late after the iPhone.
No, actually, they still sold it.
The iPod Classic, I think, can still be bought on Apple's website.
Yeah, you can.
But they're throwbacks, though.
But nobody talks about them. It's that cheap gift that your aunt shows up with that everybody had, 15 years ago. Yeah. But your aunt thinks it's a cool.
iPod shuffles are like now like the little dollar machine give prizes and stuff, your little claw machines. Yeah. But no, I don't know. Like what I wanted to ask you, Tony, in reference to this whole topic is, so what are
just the quick point though? I did want to say all I want to say is for Apple, I don't think it was quite as just to solidify it. It was as disingenuous as people want to make. I think that's built into it a little bit, but I think they really did think the best way we can give the best performance to our customer in our mind is to scale the battery to the CPU constantly, so you get the most consistent performance versus a spottier performance. And I think obviously the money thing was a factor.
I think money was a big factor.
It could be, but I think given Apple's history,
don't get me wrong, I love Apple. Yeah. I will always buy their phones.
I have a love-hate relationship with Apple,
but I also I have to be skeptical about their business.
Yeah, and I'm okay with the skepticism, but I'm not saying you should just assume the skepticism.
As long as I understand it, that they will do shitty shit.
But see, I don't think it was shitty in their mind. It was a bad situation,
it was pretty shitty.
They chose the one that made the most sense to them, and it makes the most sense given what they said their philosophy is and what they've done for their entire history, which is that the elegance of the performance for the end customer, your experience. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. It was the most consistent, and it makes sense for all their product. It doesn't look like, they were doing the Apple thing, and then all of a sudden they went against the normal Apple ethic and decided we're just going to make a crap ton of money. I mean, part of Apple's ethic is to make a crap ton of money, but it's in line with that other ethic.
It has
they kind of
always
come
been.
together.
Steve Jobs' idea was to advance, but Apple as a company was always to make money.
Apple is Steve Jobs' child, and at least so far, it's retained true to Steve Jobs' values, or the ones that he built into the company.
Well, I think as consumers, we always have to carry a bit of cynicism with companies.
Yeah, I'm not saying you should give Apple a free pass, but I'm also saying it's very consistent with what they've done. So you shouldn't just assume malice. You could just as easily assume stupidity, and I think that's even a rule.
Well, I mean,
stupidity before malice.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the whole battery thing is a big deal. I don't, because I expect companies to do that personally. I expect companies to kill my devices just so I can go buy another one and so they can make more money. Like the computer I built. I expect that computer to die in about 5 years.
Yeah, my computer is on its last legs.
I built it, put the parts in it, but I expect that some of those parts die. Because those companies, they need to stay alive.
Well, I don't think they'll do it to stay. I don't plan obsolescence. I think the first company to ever make anything probably thought of that idea, but I don't think it makes sense in isolation if you hold everything else constant, but in the real world, it doesn't make sense over time. Because if I make a product, like let's say a TV, and I want you to buy the most TVs, you might think, well, then I want this to fail constantly. But it can't fail the first day you get it, right? Because then you're not going to do it. So I have to find the optimum time, quote unquote, for it to fail so that you'll buy another TV.
10 years.
Well,
yeah. But then if I'm doing, there's also trade-offs. The more that it becomes obsolete.
You're not going to build a TV that's going to last 100 years.
I will if I'm competing with someone that's going to build a TV that's going to last for 10 years.
No, because
but if I'm the company that's competing with the other company, that's my competitive advantage.
If other companies have TVs that last 10 years, and you just build a TV that lasts 100 years, once people buy your 100-year-old TV, your business is done.
But if I make no TV, I never make any money at all.
That's true. But your business is dead.
Some money is
but
more
from the business point of view, you need
Once you have market penetration, then you're basically done.
What do you mean?
Well, if once you sell to every consumer that's going to buy a TV,
Exactly.
it's going to last 100 years. You're never going to get an upgrade. You're never going to get repeat business.
Exactly.
You're not going to have growth.
Okay, no, you will if you build on top of it. Because if you think like, see, planned obsolescence, it's for the lazy companies that keep dying off right now, and most companies have learned this lesson through history. If I can build a $100 TV that lasts 100 years at a price that people want, that's key, because it depends on the quality of my parts or whatever. Because I think in people's heads they think for no cost they can charge a TV that will last 10 years to 100 years.
From a consumer point of view, hell yeah, I want a TV that lasts 100 years.
If it costs $1,000 more,
I don't care. I'll pay the $2,000.
I don't. I want the TV that was going to probably for $1,000 less. I'll take one that lasts.
If it's going to last 100 years and I pass on to my kids and their kids, and to where they don't have to buy a TV, hell yeah, I'll pay $2,000-$3,000 for a TV.
All right, so we'll see. I'd rather pay a couple $100 for a TV that lasts 10 years. But here's why, and I think most people.
But here's the problem:
technology gets
my
better.
kids and my grandkids are not gonna buy your TVs because they already have a TV.
The one that's every 10 years? No, they will, because mine keep going because they only last 10 years. My newest model, you have one that's lasted.
But why do I need to buy a new model?
Because
the last model's gonna stay.
Yeah, you bought one that lasts 100 years and it's 480p. My newest model is 10K. Your last model is grainy vision. Mine is like perfect
but
picture
would I
quality.
care if I know my TV is gonna last 100 years? No, I won't.
People care about picture quality.
I'm sorry. I got to give you this to Tony because
wait,
hold on.
There's gonna be that small market. Like
let me tell you this. Right
no, I agree. There's gonna be that there's always a market
that will care.
Yes, there is, but it might not be sustainable for the business that you're saying.
But majority market will not give a damn.
No, a majority of the market will.
Let me tell you this right now. We bought our TV for like damn near 10K, and it's an 80-inch TV, and it's 1080p. And I wish that we waited like 5 more years so we can get a 4K TV.
Well, yeah.
You know, like even let's just say
1080p
let's say that
1080p is not going to last 100 years.
But let's just say even if it does last, there's going to be 8K displays, and then there's going to be like know, like.
But are you at a point where you're just like, man, I can't see shit on this TV?
No.
You can
but
see watch.
Right? Wait. No, by that logic, then Lewis should be upgrading his phone every 3 to 4 years, which is something that I kind of do. But everyone tells me I'm crazy, even though basically my phone runs as well as it did before for the most part.
No, it doesn't.
It does. It gets.
You can't take phone calls.
Right this second. There are errors. There are errors, and I can reset it. I have very specific situations, so I'm not trying to
have workarounds. Okay, got it.
No, well, I have specific things that are kind of holding me back. Like, I could reset my phone right now, in theory, and it would pretty much be as good as it was then, except for the fact that a few apps are a little more intensive than they used to be. But that's innovation on the apps thing that's kind of holding my hardware down. But it hasn't gotten that much worse. But most people, they upgrade every 2 years, not because the quality of the picture has gone down. It's because there are better things out there, and they want the better things.
Yeah, but they also know that eventually their phone is going to crap out.
Eventually, but people don't. On average, they do not give up their phones when they crap out. They give them up as soon as the new thing comes out. And not even as soon, because there's a balance. People are always making a calculus, and the calculus was about 2 years, and for a period of time, it was almost 1.5 years people were upgrading. But now it's lasting about 3+ years that people are upgrading on average, because the innovations haven't been that big, at least from the consumer's mindset. So you can see people want to make the trade-off, but they'll only do it when it's beneficial to them. So I'm sure there's people that want it for 100 years.
Okay, so as far as TVs, 4K is affordable right now.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
It is.
How many people do you think How many people do you think still have a 1080p TVs?
A lot.
A lot. Even though you can pretty much buy a 4K,
I think it's like
for about the same price as a 1080.
Yeah, or actually, pretty much.
But a lot is a big number. But it could be a small percentage.
The last time I was made aware of the stats was like 90% is 1080p. 10% is 4K as far as like the general population. That's a small percentage.
Even though the prices is pretty
like
similar.
I could go to Walmart down the street and buy a 4K TV for $500.
Okay, well, see, me personally, I don't know how average I am. I'm going to assume I'm below average. That does not sound very affordable. But y'all put that in the affordable category.
Well, it depends on what size.
Yeah.
But then it's also an extra expenditure of money that people
But that's how much 1080p TVs would cost. I mean, you can find a TV like that like for like $100, but that's also 1080p.
Well, I mean, you can buy a 4K. Well, at Walmart, they have what was it? Roku TV.
Yeah.
You can buy it for $200-$300. I think like whenever it goes on sale, it's around $300.
Okay.
And it's about what 40-50 inch TV.
Yeah, and also
So,
by
I
the
mean-
way, and by the way, for Black Friday, I mean, your people buy the TVs usually around the holidays and stuff.
Yeah.
Those bitches go on sale like really
But-
like low ass.
But the question is, why aren't people buying it? I mean, the quality is better.
No, because maybe
why
the price.
people
Well,
aren't
'cause
buying it?
the TVs right now, I feel like okay. So let me ask a quick semi-side question, but I'll try to bring it back very quickly. CRT TVs, what's the highest they can go up to? 1080, 720,
480i.
480.
I mean 720, or actually no, I take that back. Most for CRTs were 480i, but there is a CRT TV model like at the very end of their life cycle. There were 1080i widescreen, 1080i widescreen CRTs.
Okay, so I'm gonna guess I have a CRT TV. It was purchased, I want to say about 15 years ago. I have no intentions of replacing that TV anytime soon whatsoever.
Okay, why?
Because, well, I'm price conscientious. The picture is good enough for me.
So that's
They
my
hurt
point.
my eyes. They hurt my eyes.
That is my
Yeah,
point.
but no, but see, that's
exactly.
my point too. You were saying that planned obsolescence, that TV should have broken down a
No,
long time ago.
my point was that when you buy that TV, as long as you're satisfied with the picture, you don't care
No,
what
but
the
see,
new
no.
model.
See, you're trying
not
to-
going to give a damn what the new model has, as long as
No, you're
Yours,
trying
what
to
you got.
homogenize the market.
No, if you know your TV is going to last 100 years without any repairs, you know this, and you can still plug
Watch.
in that cable and you watch whatever show.
See, that's the thing. I don't assume my preferences speak to the whole market, and I come in because I think maybe y'all might be a little more middle class. It's easier for y'all to imagine that the whole market agrees with you. I'm in a segment of the market that's abnormal for the most part.
You're poor,
So,
got it.
I could also be spectacularly rich. I mean, that's not
Well,
what
no.
it is. But I would be out of lockstep with the general market.
I think most people are price conscious.
Yeah, but to different degrees because it depends on how much income they're making.
Well,
if you're making $100,000 a year, a $500 TV, you'll get that real quick. Even
True.
if the last TV you paid for was $1,000, you might be like, "Dang!" You're not gonna think like, "Oh, I have to waste another $500 for a TV."
True.
It's not gonna be anything
But
to you.
you're also going to take your TV in considerations too. You're
depends.
not just going to go buy
No,
a
because
TV when your TV is perfectly
No, because I can tell you, like, one
Yeah.
of the reasons that I'm perfectly happy with my TV. But if I was making, let's say, if I was making $1 million a year, it wouldn't feel. It feels like a bigger consideration at my current income level. But if I was making $1 million a
course.
year, it would be like getting a burger at In-N-Out.
Okay, but with your business model, you have to appeal to the everyday person.
No, you have to
Like
appeal
us.
to whatever segment will make you profitable.
True.
You can go
But if
wide
you're-
or you can go deep.
Well, true. But if you're selling TVs, you kind of have to appeal to everybody.
Not necessarily because like
You
if
kinda do.
Well, it depends.
Because
If you're selling
now,
a
I
TV
mean, if
today,
you're selling TVs with 24 karat gold all the way around, yeah, your market is going to be that 1%.
and if you're
right?
selling like a classic CRT TV just for nostalgia, it's also going to be low, but people will pay for nostalgia.
Yeah.
That's also a market too. It's a small, well, it's debatable how big that market is, but I bet you could convince people, at least for the style of an old style TV, just for the nostalgia sake, you could do that. But yeah, there are bigger segments of the market and smaller segments. I agree with you there, but you can appeal to them in portions or you can appeal to them widely. And I think most people, the companies tend to be fairly responsive to people's demands. I don't think most people want a TV that
But I
lasts
think
forever.
they're responsive to people commands because they'll know they're going to lose that
business.
those customers
Yeah.
if they don't.
Yeah, and see, that's my point. I think my general point is like the market is it's much more responsive than anything else because you have to care about your bottom line. Like the
Yeah.
reason they don't make TVs that last for 100 years.
Which is why they don't make it.
No. Well, I would say one of the reasons probably is most people don't, given how technology is progressing for TV specifically, most people aren't going to want a TV that lasts 100 years if it's going to cost like 6 figures. They'd rather have, and I don't know how much it would cost
I
to make
don't
a
know.
100-year
I don't know.
lasting
That
TV.
sounds like a good deal to me.
No, for you.
A TV?
Yeah, but you're not everyone. That's the thing, though.
No. Think about it. Okay, let's think of a car, right?
Hmm.
Everybody needs a car. If I told you that your car will guarantee to run for 100 years without any problems, guaranteed, and I told you that car is $30,000, would you buy that car?
Actually, I wouldn't. But I'm gonna tell you why.
Bullshit.
No, let me tell you
I'm
why.
sorry,
No,
but
because
that is bullshit.
in your hypothetical imagination, I would. But in the real world,
No,
I would be
you
like,
would.
so you're gonna sell me a car for $30,000 for $30,000 period,
Yeah,
and it'll last 100 years guaranteed, even though
As long as there's no car accident.
as long as there's no
Yeah,
car
yeah.
accident.
All right.
And then, but in a world where the cheapest cars are probably like 15,000 with no features, so I don't know what features you aren't including.
No, it doesn't matter.
It does.
I'm guaranteed. No, you can add that shit to
No, so
yourself.
it could be that I have to drive the car manually. It's no automatic. It doesn't have power windows. It doesn't have air conditioning.
Do you
it doesn't
care?
have, like, it could be
Do
missing.
you care?
Would you care?
Yes.
Yes.
You would care if you got a car for 30,000, they're guaranteed to run for 100 years. You would care if it's automatic or
If it was manual, if it didn't have power windows, if you had to drive stick, it wasn't automatic at all. If it didn't have air conditioning or
Oh hell no, I can't. The air conditioning. That's the one. That's
See-
the one
see,
that does.
There's
me
the
in.
thing. For different people, it's different thing. I think you might be a little bit more like me in the price conscientiousness thing, but most people aren't. They like the luxuries in life.
I would take out $100,000 loan for that damn car.
But see, so
Okay, and it comes with all the features.
yeah, you have different priorities. That's the thing.
Well, no, because that car is gonna last 100 years. I can pay off that $30,000. Yeah, I might be in debt for a while, but I'll
No, but see, that's
eventually
the other
pay it
thing. In
off.
the real
But I
world,
would never
there are
have to
cars
buy that car again.
No, but see, here's the thing. In the real world, there are already cars that cost $30,000 and they don't last 100 years. They might last
Exactly.
with no
10, 15.
maintenance, and you're also including no
No,
maintenance.
I get
okay,
that.
I think
I get-
you know what I'm saying. No,
Low-
well,
low
no, I'm saying
maintenance.
your deal. I'm assuming is no maintenance. I won't have to like replace things constantly.
No, no.
Right?
Cars
No,
require
no, I-
maintenance.
Okay, so then it's basically gonna be a $30,000 car then, because you can make a
Exactly.
$30,000 car today last 100 years if you're willing to
can't.
replace a lot of stuff.
You not.
Yes.
Nope.
Jay Leno's has a TV show. He's got cars from the 1800s that still work because you just constantly replace. parts.
but exactly, he's replacing it.
To the
And
point that
those-
the original car is no longer the original car.
But to the
So
point,
you're saying you're
no,
not
no,
gonna need
but
that
to
kind of
that
maintenance.
point, that car is not just not. He can have the original parts on there. No, he can't. But it's that maintenance that he has to constantly. So that 30,000 car, 10, 15 years from then will be 40,000,
With the maintenance
50,000.
cost. So you're saying
Yeah.
you're going to sell me a car that costs $30,000 total for all costs minus, let's just say, gas.
Let's just say I made a car like that. Let's just.
But
say.
see, here's the thing. In your
Let's just-
imagination,
no.
wait, no. This is what I'm saying.
See,
in
see,
your imagination,
you're
you
arguing
can,
semantics again,
No,
like
I'm not.
you did
I'm
the
really
last
not.
time.
In your imagination,
you
look,
were-
here, in my imagination, I can sell you one pill that will keep you sated, not hungry again for 100 years. That works in my imagination because I'm not including reality at all. In your imagination,
I don't care about the reality.
I know you don't.
No,
that's
no,
what I'm saying.
That's not.
In
That's
your
not. No, that's
imagination,
not
you can
the
make
point
a
of
car for
reality.
$30,000 that lasts 100
I'm
years.
not- I'm not
but in
taking-
reality, that might not be possible.
If we're talking about reality, of course, I'm not going to build a car that's.
No, I'm
less-
not saying if you're going to. I'm saying, is it even possible to make
No,
a
it's
car
not.
that
No,
costs
it's
$30,000
not.
that lasts 100 years?
No, it's
So
not.
then why would you... See, the problem with
I'm-
that argument is companies have to work in the real world.
No, what you're saying is that you believe companies support quality of.
No, I think they'll do whatever the customer wants. Like, some people want lesser quality and a cheaper price.
I
and some
don't think
people
that's
want
their
high-
number one priority.
I just know their priority is to make the dollar.
So
No.
let me ask you, Tony. I've been trying to ask you this question this entire time. You keep cutting me off.
I know. Well, I wanted to make sure. To get that
So
last point.
also, we're wrapping up the topic, by the way, just in case you didn't know this.
That's another reason why I wanted to do it at the end. But-
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm watching the time. Anyways, so my question to you is what are there do companies have responsibilities to its consumers?
Maybe.
If there was no
In what sense?
FCC, if there was
Like-
no
like-
FCC to Overwatch,
Overwatch, to
not Overwatch,
to overlook,
oversee?
oversee, yeah.
oversee them, and would you think there still be what they are right now?
No, they'd probably be better, and there'd probably be less of. There'd probably be more of them.
No.
There'd probably be better quality. And wait, with one small caveat, there is a
You
there
know
is
those
a tragedy of the commons thing with the airwaves. Maybe if it is a limited resource, that's kind of like that we all have to share, kind of like the water thing. There might be an issue about how that's whatchamacallit. But if we put that aside real quick, if like the real complexity of these real isolated situations, if we pretend the FCC and what the companies that they regulate are like all the normal businesses, like iPhones and stuff like that, if we can look at it that way, then yes. But there is a very specific issue.
I call
about
bullshit on
specific
it,
things.
and you know why?
Why?
Okay, whenever cars would start, coming around 100 years ago, there was no such thing as baby seats, car seats,
Yeah.
right?
What do you mean, babe? Like the ones that kids sit
Well,
in?
yeah,
Okay.
there was no such thing.
Yeah.
People just put the babies in there, and a car crash, that baby is out the window, right? So it's those kind of regulations.
No, but see, that's the thing.
I don't think that those
That's
car
one of those-
companies would have.
Made it by themselves.
See, that's one of the
Came to that
problems. Like
conclusion.
Neil
And
deGrasse.
if they did made it, they'll probably make it like right now, 2018. It will be the time where car seats would be invented.
Well, see, I would say this. Here's the thing. How do I put this?
I think
People
there
make
has
that
to be
argument, and it
regulation.
used to be
There
powerful
has
with
to
me.
be regulation.
You're only running history in one. You're running the experiment only one time. So because the institution existed when that, let's say, innovation came along, you assume that innovation couldn't have existed without that institution. But see, Neil deGrasse Tyson makes that same argument, and I used to get it when I didn't know as much. He says because of all the money we put into NASA, we have Velcro and microwaves and all this extra stuff. Like, so in my normal mind, I'm like, oh, dang, we need NASA because we wouldn't have all these amazing things. Here's the problem with that. That assumes those things couldn't have been invented even if NASA wasn't around. Now, they might have taken a 1 or 2 years later, a few years later, and some of that's okay. Even the car seat thing, it might not have been the time for them to put the car seats in. Maybe most people weren't driving with their babies in the car. Maybe most people were willing to take the risk. Like, no, and this is real stuff. Like, the cost of an extra seatbelt in a car, it's like, I don't know. I'm going to put a number on it that's not going to be based in reality at all. Let's say it costs $1,000 to add seatbelts, right?
Okay. That's
But
that is expensive.
okay, expensive. Yeah, expensive.
I'll throw another. Let's say
$50.
I don't know if it's 50. We'll call it a
seatbelt?
Material and like springs and like
Are
mechanisms.
you talking about just the research and development
well,
for
no,
the
like just
seatbelt?
the actual
Or
thing.
just
Okay, let's call it 100 because I don't know what the material.
I
is made
wouldn't
out of.
even go as far as that.
Let's go with
Well,
I
that.
would say like 10, 15
I'll
bucks.
say this: in a free market, people would have the option to choose. I want this car that's $100 cheaper with no seatbelts, or I want this car that's $100 more expensive, probably plus profit, so 120 because like I'm
Yeah,
getting
but they
extra
needed
feature.
the regulation for seatbelt needed because when seatbelts came around, people didn't think they needed seatbelts,
And that's their choice to think a lot of stuff.
And they didn't buy cars with seatbelts.
Yeah, and-
until the regulation forced them to
Yeah,
buy.
but see, that's the thing.
And then
that's
and then laws tell us to put them on when we're on in the
okay,
car.
but see,
Yeah.
that's the thing. People should be free to take the risk that they want with their lives.
yeah, but if you're gonna die,
that's
does it really matter?
No, it does. See, and see,
No,
that's
it
that
doesn't.
There was a Penn Jillette video I shared with Lewis, and he's describing like why he believes in libertarianism. And when he starts off the video, he talks about he's never drunk a drop of alcohol in his life, he's never smoked weed or whatever, but he believes other people should. And then he's lived I think he's like 60 or something
Yeah,
right now.
yeah.
So 60 years, never touched anything. And then he's like, but when I think about Kurt Cobain, or when I think about Freddie Mercury, or like these people that kind of died young, and I think about the lives they lived, I know I would never want to live that life. This is him talking still, right? But can I say for sure that wasn't the right life for Kurt Cobain, for Freddie Mercury, to do all these drugs, to do all these things? I can't, and here's why. People always make the assumption, because the people that are willing to say this, they assume a long life is always the goal. It's not always the goal. Sometimes a short life that's meaningful is better than a long life that's unmeaningful. In fact, almost always that's the case.
Yeah, but the seatbelt regulation isn't just you protecting yourself from yourself. It's protecting you from the idiot that's about to crash into you.
No, well, and then I will choose if I want to take that risk or not. Maybe,
Yeah,
but see,
if that regulation wasn't in place, would you have that seatbelt on? No, you wouldn't.
No,
Because
I would.
when I was 16
because I don't.
years
There's regulations out there saying you can't smoke crack, but I have crack fairly easily accessible to me. Okay, or a lot of the drugs that you're not supposed to.
on Facebook.
No, but see, I've never used it, right? So even if there's a regulation out there, if I wanted to, I could get it like that. If I wanted to get weed, I could get it like that. It would be almost no effort. So there's regulations that saying I can't, but if I wanted to, I couldn't. So why am I choosing not to?
Anyways.
Because it's a rule that doesn't exist in my mind. It doesn't exist to the people that I interact with because I can get it like that.
We're not getting anywhere.
All right.
So let's move on to the
next topic.
No, but see, you weren't. But see here, because the
we're not.
rules you're saying, it doesn't make sense that people would only put on seatbelts if they were forced to. Because there's lots of things that I could get away with that I don't do,
Well,
and there's
true.
lots of
It's
things that
true.
I do because I know by myself,
It's
by
true.
looking at the world, that I should do it. And there's a few things in between where I'm not doing the right things, and I'm gonna have to suffer the consequences. And then I'll either learn from those mistakes, or other people will learn by watching. So like the first person.
Wait, hold on, whoa, right there, stop. That's what regulations come from. It's from watching history unfold. Wait, hold on. If you take away regulations, Juan was arguing this on Facebook.
And I'm not saying all regulations. Because I feel like that was, I think for some reason everything slipped into I'm about total anarchy.
Okay.
Which is, I
okay.
was very explicit about
All right.
not that.
Let me just make sure. But let's just say, regulations. Every law that comes into existence for a reason.
But not always a good reason.
Somewhere fucked up.
No.
Okay.
What do you mean?
We're gonna go with that assumption. All right. Like, I'm Facebook and I leak your private information. We need a law to change that. Stat. Okay? That law comes into existence because someone dropped the ball. All right? So what happens is when you scale back regulations, it doesn't matter what it is, but something that we're just gonna cut this red tape. There's gonna be a rubber band effect because the mistakes that led to that regulation coming in its place in the first place will be needed again.
What I would say is, well, I don't know if this is going to be relevant, but everyone at the table believes in evolution, right?
Right.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so I just want, that may or may not come to topic. We'll see how this sentence goes on. But
I don't think it would be a topic.
well, here's the thing.
All right, continue.
Here's the thing. Okay, well, I'll just go straight into it, and then I'll try to come closer back. This is going to be a tangent, but it kind of curves in if I can do this correctly. If we believe in evolution, and I'm just going to assume most people are generally atheistic when they believe in evolution. You believe in spontaneous order, which means without any guidance, without any forethought, order comes from nothing, right?
Okay.
That's what evolution says. Like life just came up, and then even from a single cell to this multi-cell organism that I am, it came through spontaneous order over time. That's just evolution. Regulations, they are counter evolution, and then they feel it's basically creationism or intelligent design. The only way this system can work is that if an intelligent designer designs the rules and makes everything correctly.
I'm gonna pause you
It's
for
the
a second.
same thought.
I'm gonna pause you for a second.
Okay.
Are you telling me that a seatbelt is prohibiting evolution?
No, I'm saying the idea. I'm saying
me-
the idea to make the rule that people have to wear seatbelts and the car manufacturer has to put in seatbelts is counter evolution.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yes, because
Really? What?
Stupidity.
Okay,
I mean,
no,
like,
because it assumes that order cannot come by its own. That it
They
has to
can't.
be enforced from above.
This is.
So you believe
remember
that's God.
the Dark Ages? I mean, I don't know if you. Well,
No,
not
but see,
remember,
but even in evolution, lots of things die. I'm
Remember,
not going to take that
you
out.
learned about the Dark Ages,
Yeah.
right? Remember, kings, queens,
I'm
right?
semi-familiar.
Right? Okay, there was no laws.
There were.
People-
It's just
no,
whatever the king
no,
or queen
well,
or whatever
true,
said.
True, but it's not. It was their rules, basically.
Yeah, it was
and
ruled by
on a
king.
whim. By whim, too.
But
But see,
outside,
wait, I'm gonna stop right there.
Hold on,
Rule
hold
by
on.
whim. That's literally my whole thing. That's
But-
my thing right there. That's the whole reason why I don't like regulation and all this stuff. We're supposed to be ruled by law, but if we're not, everyone tries to act like this is a democracy. It's not. It's a republic, and no one understands why because everyone calls it a democracy, and we pretend in the culture that it's a democracy. If it was a democracy, it would be the same freaking problem. Rule by king, rule by queen is rule by whim. Rule by democracy is also rule by whim. It's the whims of the masses. The reason we're not a democracy is to fight that. We're a republic because we don't want rule by one person, but we also don't want rule by the majority. They have a phrase for it. It's called tyranny of majority. You can also call it mob rule.
All right, Misha, continue. He interrupted you.
I just don't think. I think there has to be regulation. Period.
Well, I would say-
there has to be.
Well,
I would say
it's just-
quippily, like Darth Vader said, I find your lack of faith disturbing.
All right, that is the end
that's
of that
fine.
topic. That is the
okay
end of
with
that
that.
topic. I like it. I think that was there.
But I will say there's actual reasons beyond it, not just faith.
We have reached an impasse, and that's
It's
what
not
what happened last week. And that's
See, it's not an impasse. It's just this conversation takes time. History belies everything that he kind of thinks. Not in the short term, but in the long term. Since 1700 to now, history it kind of goes against everything he thinks. But from 1950 or 1900 to now, it seems like everything he says makes sense. But because we're not taught the full history, because there's a general consensus in the culture that everything before now is wrong. Like, we finally have it right now.
Yeah.
Like, we got it right. But the thing is, throughout history, everyone has thought that at every single day in history.
Well,
now
true,
we
true.
figured it out.
Yeah.
Now we got it.
I don't think.
So that's not a good reason.
I don't think. No. Actually, there is a lot of people think that we have it right now.
Yeah.
But we don't.
Yeah. But see,
But we still need regulation to get to that
No,
point.
and see,
I think that without that regulation, getting to the right point that you want to be in, will not happen as quickly as you believe it would.
No, actually, it will get more quickly, but
No, it wouldn't.
it will, because
No.
evolution makes things happen very quickly.
Without
but-
regulation, and let's say you make
And it
a
depends
phone.
on the
No, hold on.
regulation.
Let's say you make a phone and I make a phone, right? With two different companies.
Standards.
Without rules and regulation and laws and shit like that. Hold on. And your phone is a lot better than mine. And people buying all your products and shit, and I'm the little guy sell maybe 5 phones a day. Without all those rules and regulation, I can go to your company, kill you, take your shit, you take it to my place.
Well, and murder is not a regulation. That's what
it's
I wanted
law.
to say. I
It's a
believe
law.
I'm not
But
against
I'm not
laws,
just- I'm
and
not
I'm not
just-
against rules, and I'm not even really against
He's
regulation.
one of okay.
No,
I'm
you
only,
can't- no,
I'm
without-
only against
you can't- you
regulation
can't-
if you're using
no.
it in the political sense. I'm
No.
for cultural regulation, and I'm for laws. Okay?
Cultural
And
regulation?
Yeah, because I can influence people through the culture, and the culture can influence me. Like, why don't we just go around just crapping in the streets? I say this because there are countries where people do that.
Yeah,
the culture
but-
allows it,
but
but
isn't
the
that-
culture
but-
can push back.
Yeah, but doesn't culture regulation also
Impede people's freedoms?
impeach on the
No, because I
evolution?
still have the choice to tell the
not
culture to go
freedom.
F off.
Not on freedom, but evolution.
No,
As
because
you were saying.
no, culture is also an evolved thing. That's another one of the. It's a newer idea I've come across, but it just totally makes sense. If you think that people are,
Okay, next topic.
Yep.
I don't think we're gonna
Yeah,
go
we're
anywhere.
done.
well, it's
Yeah.
a big topic, and all the things are kind of interweaved.
No, it's not a big topic. It
really is.
It really was. You made it to a big topic, but
No, because
go
I like to
into
go
the
from the
beginning.
base and work my way up. And so, like, it feels like in this very specific instance, we have to have regulation. But if you drill
hold
down
on,
into
hold
it,
on,
it's
hold on.
just feelings.
Long time ago, it all started with the Big Bang. Okay.